Okay, reconvene into open session, back into open session. Let the record reflect that all board members except Alicia Cruz are in attendance tonight. And I wanted to see if I can get our new student board member to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much. Announcement of action taken in closed session. Government Code Section 54957, Conference with Labor Negotiators, WTA, CSCA, and Management. Information was received and direction was given. Number 2, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee and Performance Evaluation Superintendent. Information was received. Okay, now we come to communication celebrations. I want to, you want to go for it? Go ahead.
Thank you, President Menke. Real quickly, I would just like to say we're very excited this evening to have a packed house because we have a wonderful recognition and celebration for a number of our schools. Elkhorn Village, Stonegate, Southport, and Bridgeway Island are in the house over our Showing Up initiative for improved student attendance, and our schools have done remarkably well over the last couple of years as long as we've worked with school innovations and achievement, and we're going to be recognizing 4 schools, but I do want to note that all of our schools have shown incredible improvement in their attendance efforts, and the theme for this year's work has really been showing up and the importance of being in school, but also how that transfers into life in future years. So we're pleased to introduce Kara de Blasio here with School Innovations Achievement to come forward with some presentations of awards, and she'll introduce her team, and I would like to invite the board to come forward to congratulate our recipients. Kara, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, board members, cabinet members, sound guy over there. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. We are really thrilled to be here to honor these sites and all of your sites here at Washington Unified School District for their leadership in creating this culture of showing up here at the district. So we're really thrilled to be here tonight. And we know that collectively your district, these sites, and everyone's efforts have increased the parental involvement, student-parent engagement, and employee commitment. And what's really fantastic is our team at SINA has been very fortunate to experience the dedication of your sites and the site staff firsthand in these efforts in bringing more students back to school and creating that culture of showing up. We've looked at the data, and the data that we're looking at from last year's attendance here at the district tells a really exceptional story. So we're thrilled to be able to share that with you here tonight. And again, I would like to invite the board members down here on the floor to help us hand out the awards tonight. We have a plaque for each site that we're awarding, as well as certificates for the site staff. So without further ado, the first site that we are awarding here tonight, pardon me?
You want us to come down there?
Sure, come on down. So the first site that we're awarding here tonight is Elkhorn Village Elementary. Elkhorn Village Elementary had improvements in overall absences. They also had obviously improvements in truancy and EEA. A 28% improvement in chronic absences, which is fantastic, and something that we're really, really thrilled to announce here is 100% of the students that were eligible for a face-to-face conference were addressed last year, so they were really, really fantastic in addressing those conferences and the face-to-face conversations with parents. So we have Principal Lisa Smith, attendance clerk, yes, applause. Attendance clerk Christina Areola, and outreach consultant Maria Jaquez. And this won't be the first time you see Maria up here tonight. We also are awarding her for her work that she is doing with Stonegate. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Our second site that we're honoring here tonight is Stonegate Elementary. Stonegate had a 31% improvement in overall absences, a 30% improvement in truancy, a 36% improvement in excessive excused absences, and a 45% improvement in chronic absences. And what that relates to, and just to put it in perspective, is over 1,200 learning hours gained last year for Stonegate. So tonight we're honoring Principal Carla Marquez and Outreach Consultant Maria Jaquez. Our next site that we're honoring here tonight is Southport Elementary. And Southport had a 24% improvement in overall absences, a 30% improvement in truancy, and a 45% improvement in chronic absences. That's over 600 learning hours gained last year for Southport. So tonight we honor Principal Kendra Reynolds, who I understand under the weather, so we honor her in spirit here tonight. Attendance clerk Donna Noel, and outreach consultant Alex Yang. And our final site that we're awarding here tonight, Bridgeway Island Elementary. We had a 4% improvement in overall absences, a 28% improvement in excused absences, the lowest percentage of chronically absent students in the district, and over 300 learning time hours gained. So again, tonight we honor Principal Grace Chin, attendance clerk Susan Lee, and outreach consultant Chris Mireles. Thank you so much, everyone. Congratulations. We are thrilled with our partnership. And again, thank you so much. We congratulate all of the honorees, the entire district, all of your sites, all of your district leadership. This has been a wonderful year. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Kara, again, I'd like to thank you and your group, of course, for your support to our schools and all of our award recipients. Congratulations. I'd like to invite you to step outside and be part of an interview conversation out in the foyer. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to Student Association reports. Student Board Member?
Thank you, Adam.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to start with old news. If you can recall, last meeting we talked about our homecoming. Thank you. Well, I can honestly say that with the help of our amazing leadership class, administration, and our students, it went really great. Our rally had a very safe and fun environment, and our new disciplinary actions went great. Our game, unfortunately, we lost, but we had a full house, and boosters did a great job in the snack shop. And our dance was safe, and there were no problems at all. That brings us into our new news for this week, which is Awareness Week. And tomorrow it's going to start with our day for the support of Claire Wiley and her family, which passed away this August. Our whole school is wearing purple and turquoise, and we're donating money towards her family. And next week, we start off Monday with our drug-free day, and we're wearing red ribbons. Tuesday is Suicide Awareness Day. Wednesday is Bullying Awareness Day. Thursday is Pediatric Cancer Day, and Friday is Breast Cancer Awareness Day. And as for sports, our sports athletics has really accomplished a lot this year. Our River City cross-country team set personal records at Pacific Tiger High School. Our River City girls tennis is undefeated in league. Our River City volleyball swept the Rio Linda game and is about to play our #1 rivalry, Yuba City. Our River City water polo team is undefeated so far. And our River City football JV team has won every game except one. And that's it.
Thank you. Take that to CSEA report. Deborah Hearn. Good evening.
Good evening to the board. I don't have very much to report tonight, but I do want to say that we have started meeting with the superintendent, and we're having some positive meetings, and we're hoping that we will have another productive year in getting the things worked out and working together. So that's one good thing I would like to say tonight. And other than that, I believe that's it. But we still have a couple of things pending that we're working on, but hopefully we will be able to iron them all out. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to WTA. Don Stoffer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to offer our congratulations to one of our teachers, Melissa Oliver. She was just informed this week that she's been accepted into the Instructional Leadership Corps. This is a collaborative partnership between CTA and the Stanford Center for Opportunity Policy and Education, or SCOPE. And SCOPE is headed by Linda Darling Hammond. You can't get much better than that. She's a wonderful researcher and a great asset for the field of education. And so Melissa and her cohort, they're going to be involved with putting together in the leadership capacity implementation of the Common Core and the next generation science standards. They'll be working on things like professional development and developing other resources for teachers. So it's a great feather in the cap of Washington Unified to have a teacher be part of that. Also, Washington Unified is going to be soon moving over to Google Apps, at least on the educational end of the world. One of the things that's going to happen is that we will get new emails. And there's been a couple conversations about that, but I wanted to bring it to your attention because this is probably an opportunity to think about rebranding and how we can promote our district. I don't think I'm speaking for myself, but I get really tired of typing in wsd.k12.ca.us. And there may be some other things that might be more distinctive and easier to remember. Unfortunately, wusd.org has been taken, and that's by the Windsor Unified District over by Santa Rosa. But I'm sure there are plenty of other things, and it would seem to me that it might be something the board might want to become interested in. Also, we've been bargaining, much like our friends in CSEA. I have to say, we had a meeting last week that was incredibly productive, and I want to thank the district administration for that. We were able to settle 3 of the articles in one day. That seems pretty exciting. And I know we have a lot more work ahead of us, and I'm confident that we'll be able to move forward productively and happily. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, go to public comment. Christina Buss.
Good evening. I'm here to talk about honorarium we want to do for Claire Wiley. Could I have everybody come up with me? This is just to show support. They're not all going to talk.
I'd have to cut them off.
And we tried to keep it small and only include people who knew Claire really well from the science department, because that's what our proposal is about tonight, but we represent the staff and students of all of River City. So our proposal is we would like to have something on campus named after Claire Wiley. She was a teacher at River City High School for her entire teaching career, 8 years. She taught science. She founded our biomedical sciences program. She was an inspirational mentor, colleague, teacher, and just a wonderful person. We all have a lot of us have our Claire Strong shirts, and there's the day that Victoria mentioned tomorrow would have been her 34th birthday. So there's a lot going on campus for that, and a lot of students who still remember her. Ideally, what we'd like to see happen is to have the G building at River City High School renamed as Wiley Hall in her honor. It's where the science classes are. It's especially where the biomedical sciences program has taken off, which she was the first teacher in that program. She went to the first trainings. She really built it from the ground up, and it's become a huge asset. It serves over 350 students every year. I put some papers up for you guys to look over. I'm not going to read them all, but I did want to invite the 2 students here tonight to say just a couple words about what they remember about Claire.
Hi, I'm Estrella Pacheco. I don't have my shirt, but I'm buying it tomorrow. Miss Wiley, to me, is an inspirational person. She's the reason I want to be a pediatric oncologist and the reason I went to Washington, D.C. for a summer program in the medicine field. I've talked to a bunch of students before coming here today, and they're like, she's the one who told me, be who you want to be. Be whoever you want to be. Just go out there and talk to everyone. Don't be shy. Meet everyone you can. And just explore the world, because you never know what you can find out there. And that's what mostly everyone was trying to say together. And we all just got together and cried about her, but she's still with us no matter what. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Priyashna Priya, and I had Miss Wiley as a freshman. And as an incoming freshman, it was great to have a teacher who was so supportive of every decision that you made. She made sure that you were getting things done, and she's the reason I'm able to stand up in front of other people today and talk, because she always promoted us to make sure that we expressed ourselves and make sure we made our point come across clearly. And she made sure that she was one of those teachers who not only said that her students were important, but she made everybody feel important. So I think it's a good idea that our future students at River City know her and know her story. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Great job. We're not going to take up too much more time, but I hope you'll look over the papers. It is a little biography of her time with River City High School, and then on the back there are some excerpts from her blog, which was Wiley Biomed, and it's all about her battle with cancer and what she shared with her students during that time, and how hard she tried the entire time she was battling to come back to River City and remain a part of our community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mwasich, I know there's a board policy and school policy of how to name buildings and different things. Have you gone into that, down that road and found that out yet?
My understanding was the first step was to make the board aware.
Excellent.
So that's where we are right now.
Step 1, check.
Yes.
Okay, good. So you're doing that already?
We're going to look into whatever the next steps are further, but of course, we're going to work with the district office to make sure we follow the process.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Edward Castorena. I probably messed that up, but what was your last name? Your last name?
Castorena.
Oh, okay, good.
We wanted to ask through our group of Yolo County Progressive LULAC, and I've been a resident of Broderick and then West Sacramento City for 60 years. And the questions we wanted to ask was, who owns Bright Park and Elkhorn Park, located in school properties, I believe? Who maintains these parks? Has there been a proposal from West Sacramento, the city, to Washington Unified School District to apply for a grant that would help fund the visioning plan? And if there has been a proposal, what can we do to help expedite that proposal? Thank you very much.
Thank you. The board doesn't normally comment on public comments, but there are a lot of answers for what you've asked, and I'll give your name and number to the superintendent, and he'll try to get someone to get back to you. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. There's a number of you for cheer team, so I'll call you up one at a time. If you have something to say over and over, just make sure if when someone says it, don't say the same thing, and keep your comments to try to keep them 3 minutes, and we'll try to let you all speak on the same matter. Okay. Volta. Is that somebody? Volta Chapman? Is it Volta? Probably you. Looks like Volta. What is it? Oh, wow.
Sorry,
okay,
my
yeah.
handwriting's really weird.
I haven't witnessed that one yet.
Would
but-
it be okay if we came up together?
Sure.
Okay.
Just bring that microphone down so that people can hear you. There you go.
So, hi guys, I'm
Hello.
Sam and I cheer for River City High School. I'm also in leadership.
I'm Julia. I'm also a cheerleader at River City High School. We're here today to talk about how our school, or how we feel our school doesn't support our cheer team. I feel other sports get supported, but cheer does not.
Since Sean stepped in, we've improved so much, but I feel that we can't prove ourselves to our school and how much we improved. We work as hard as just any other sport, and I feel that other sports get supported way more than we do. And we do get recognized as a sport, but in a way we don't.
So since we work just as hard and we put a lot of time and dedication into what we do, I feel that we have what it takes to compete and we deserve the chance to prove ourselves and our skills. I feel administration does not support us and doesn't fulfill the promises we were granted last season. Last season we were promised that if basketball season went well, we could be allowed to compete. Only one promise was granted, and that was the overnight camp at UC Davis.
And the last part is probably the most touching for me. We have 14 seniors out of the 20 on our comp squad this year. This is including myself, and I feel that our 14 seniors should have the chance to end our high school cheer experience in the most memorable way as possible.
Okay. Ever since we were in kindergarten, we were always told to give it our 100%, put our heart and mind into anything we do. Nationals in Florida is our 100%. It's our chance to prove ourselves, show the school and administration what we do best.
Thank you.
Please give us the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I know that's a difficult thing for someone at high school level to do, come up and speak in front of us. And the last time the cheerleaders spoke to our board, we had an earthquake last time. So basically, if there's another earthquake, we cut you off. Okay, so Eva Avila. She's not here at the moment, or will be coming back. Thank you for your help, student board members. That's why we have student board members. Sean Henderson. This is why they don't give me this task.
I took over last year for River City High School cheer, and I'm probably most knowledgeable coach in this area as far as working for UCA, which is the biggest cheerleading company in the world. And teaching proper progression, safety awareness, everything that I have to do myself that I have to learn prior to teaching the athletes. And ever since I took over, I've never connected to a high school team like I have River City. And I've coached and helped out thousands of kids. And I feel with this one, with them competing, that we have to go basically in order as far as, yes, we are not able to make it as a club, or excuse me, as a sport for the competition team, but we're told that in order to do this, we have to make it as a club. So it's like I feel that we're being pushed in this direction in order to make it a competition team. But then we also have restrictions on top. And I feel that their biggest issue with the school is that it's a liability issue. But one, in the company I work for, the proper documentation, the proper paperwork, as long as it's filled out, it covers both ends and both parties. So one, as the school requested to make the proper paperwork and the proper documentation, I have done, to where it does not hold the school liable for anything that happens to the child at the competitions. So I have done every single thing that the school has asked me to do, but I feel still that the communication level is being forced upon us, where not even the administration, as far as the AD, the vice principal, and the principal are all on the same page. When I'm getting miscommunication and getting told one thing and then getting told another, I don't think it's fair that I'm having to basically tell the athletes something different. So if it's such a liability, why is other schools, including Oak Ridge, Wood Creek, California High, Casa Robles High, Bella Vista, why are all these schools able to go to Florida or SoCal or any other nationals, but River City is not? Why do we have restrictions? Because it's so-called a liability. But all the restrictions, Bobby Biggs, who coached Sac State, is also the head coach for Casa Robles High School. He told me that if I want to go to a competition, to fill out a field trip slip and how to go about it. But when I asked to do that with my AD and everything else, he says I have to go through this giant procedure. And then I get told this last minute and saying that I missed the window. But they knew I had a competition team since last year and make sure that I was able to do that. Why am I getting told last minute, why can't we compete in Florida? If my girls put in all the time and the effort and the work, and they go here in the first place, and we're putting West Sac on the map, and these girls are, working hard, why are we restricted to going to our nationals, our Super Bowl, our playoffs? Why are we restricted, and why are we cut off? Is there any way that we can get that to go to Florida or somewhere else to help benefit these kids?
Thank you. Deborah Gonzalez.
Hi. I am a representative of the moms of the cheerers and the athletes that are the 14 seniors that are on this competition team. They were asked to do open tryouts. Open tryouts happened. Those girls were chosen. Everybody had an opportunity to try out for this competition squad. My background also, I've done a competition coordinator and also cheer coordinator for the junior program that is a feeder to the high school. I've had graduates from this high school who have also cheered and have competed in prior years. So I don't understand what is the pushback and the miscommunication of when we have spoken to administration, we get one story, then we get another story, and then we get pushed and on the side of pushing competition or paperwork. We sign liabilities when you first put your cheerleader on the squad for not holding the school responsible for anything that may happen. We also sign liability papers to release that liability from school in competition. The girls did earn competition back. A lot of the 14 seniors are here because they were promised to compete this year. Competitive cheer is a sport. The PTA board has made it a sport this year. We pay thousands of dollars out of our own pocket. The school doesn't pay for it to get these girls uniforms so that they can compete. We finally have a coach who can take them to levels that they have worked so hard to get to, but we are still being put on like a stopping point to where we can't go forward. I just think that it is very sad because we do have many of the sports that are doing well this year. Our cheer squad is doing what they can to put this on the map, and we support them full-heartedly. You have 14 seniors that are ready to go, along with the younger junior program looks up to these girls, go to the same comps as these girls and say, you know what, one day I'm gonna be there. But if they can't compete, what do these girls have to look forward to? We'll end up losing those cheerleaders to other schools like Christian Brothers and those schools who do compete at a competitive level and can take that cheer farther than just football games and doing cheer at football games. And that is the most important thing, I think, for these girls. a lot of the girls and a lot of the parents have expressed, if we can't go forward with this, we just spent thousands of dollars for what? For going to a basketball game or going to a football game and doing 4 or 5 cheers a quarter. We are supportive, we're ready to fundraise, we're ready to do this. We just need the school to support us. And for us not to be able to, one, use River City as the name, and a lot of these girls go to this school, is just, I just don't understand it. These girls work hard, not only in school, but also in the sport, and they should be supported by administration. Administration has not come to any of our meetings because they're not aware or maybe fully aware of what cheer is. We're here to help them understand that. And all we want is a fair chance to get these girls to competition, to nationals, and a lot of these girls have been to nationals already in their younger years, and they're ready to do it for River City. And that's all we want, is a chance to go forward. Other than that, thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you. Oops. That brings me to Sandy Snyder.
I'm a mom of a cheerleader too, and we're new to West Sac, so I'm new to this whole situation. I do want to say that Eva, that's my daughter's, enjoyed very much cheering on this cheer team. It was a great introduction to her school and to her neighborhood. And I'm involved, but I'm kind of an outsider because I'm new, and I see a big problem in communication. I mean, I guess we don't understand why, I don't, and maybe other people don't, understand why we're being asked to become a club rather than a sport, and it seems like it's just for part of the cheer and not all of the cheer, so I'm unclear about that. The cheer team that shows up at the games, they're considered a sport, but the girls that are going to compete are being asked to be a club. I'd like to know why that is, and then is that appropriate, and if it is appropriate, how do we go about doing it? And then what does that mean for the girls? Is there different liabilities that they're going to have to sign more waivers? Are there other restrictions about where they can compete, which is what I'm hearing is being told to the girls. You got to be a club, but then you can't use our equipment, or you can't compete at this place. So there seems to be a double standard and also incomplete communication. And the other part that's important about this is, like, the first competition is coming up in November. So we need clear, timely communication because they'll miss that competition. And as was pointed out, there's 14 seniors on that team, and they're not going to get to do it again. I mean, if it's gone, it's gone. So I think the important thing is to have clear, timely communication so we know what we have to do, what's expected of us, and is it appropriate. And I guess that's what I would ask come out of this meeting. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Did Ava Avila make it back? Okay. This one's the Farm to School month, and it's Christy Levings here to speak to us a little bit about. We're going to put it on the agenda, and we're going to put it on next meeting, and then you already have prior engagement.
I'm sorry. Unfortunately, we can't make it for the next meeting. We're going to be in Woodland.
Okay.
We're sort of hitting up all of the districts.
Well, we'll call Woodland and make sure that it's talked about.
Sorry, Woodland took us already. Sorry. My name is Christy Levings, and I'm the project director for the Farm to School YOLO program that's administered out of the Department of Agriculture. And my boss, the Ag Commissioner, would be here this evening, but unfortunately he has a school engagement with his children. So I get the distinct pleasure of doing this. So I'm also a farmer here in Yolo County, so I get to speak from both places here today. As you may recall, 2 years ago, the Washington School District signed an MOU with the Yolo County Department of Agriculture for the creation of this Farm to School YOLO program that's administered with a grant from the California Department of Food and Agriculture, and it's focused primarily on procurement. And I'm here today to give you sort of a mid-chorus report on how that grant is going, and you should also expect another report from us at the end of the grant, which will be in June of 2015. And our report today is also in honor of National Farm to School Month. Most people don't know this, but October is National Farm to School Month. Interestingly, Yolo County was doing farm to school activities since the early 1990s, long before farm to fork and farm to school ever became trendy. We were the ones doing it. So kudos to Yolo County for being the first ones on the map for that. School districts all over Yolo County are engaged in school gardens, kids farmers markets, classroom nutrition education in the classroom, school wellness policies. All of those are the cadre that constructs farm-to-school activities. My particular program is focused on the procurement, actually helping food make it from the farm to the schools. And we have a series of grant objectives that I'd like to share with you as part of our report. Is it okay if I approach the bed? And that selection of activities is done in partnership with your food services director, Carrie Pina. And tonight, I just want to take a moment and brag on her just a little bit. Some of the activities that our program has done includes the construction of a website, harvesthubyolo.com, where food services directors regionally can find local farms. It includes the creation of this beautiful book that I'm going to offer you guys tonight called The California Specialty Crops, A Guide to their use in school lunch. Carrie's actually featured on page 23, so she's going to be pretty famous here as we distribute this book throughout California. This book really tells the story of Yolo County's path and journey in the farm-to-school world and how we came to be such a powerhouse in farm-to-school activities. Some other things that we do include a series of cooking classes to build scratch cooking skills in food service staff. We have a whole host of other activities. I encourage and invite you to contact me directly if you're curious about it. The graph that you're seeing there at the bottom of your handout is really, I apologize, is it okay if I go over? Okay. The graph that you're seeing there at the bottom of your handout tells the story of local procurement. And in particular, I want to call attention to the journey that Washington School District has been on over the last 3 years. The first bar in the graph will tell you the baseline. It'll tell you how much local procurement your school district engaged in prior to the grant. The second graph is year 1, and then the third and final graph is year 2 of the grant. We've got one more year going here. So as you can see, Carrie has grown your local procurement by, I think, almost 50%. So that means that 50% of the produce that you're feeding your kids now comes from local farms. That's awesome. That's awesome, especially when you consider that every single farm job produces 0.8% off-farm jobs, 0.8 off-farm jobs. And for every dollar spent on local procurement, puts 43 cents of non-farm activity into the local economic development sphere. So yeah, good things, good things. I'm going to share this with you guys. And again, page 23 is Carrie.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, concludes public comment unless I see Ava. No, okay. Board Superintendent comments. Superintendent Gillen.
Thank you, members of the board. I have a few items I do want to share, in fact, this evening. First off, I'd like to mention that the Next Ed Convergence is scheduled for October 24th at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's at the Doubletree Inn. We have a table reserved. I'd like to encourage board members to participate. Daryl Steinberg will be there talking about the California Pathways Trust Award. As you recall, we were a recipient of a $15 million grant for career pathways recently. So he'll be speaking to that, and would again like to encourage the board to share the table. If you could, please let me know. We need to get names to, pardon me, it's the 24th. Was that the question? Yeah, October 24, 8 a.m. I'll send more information out tomorrow, but if you could respond to the email and let me know whether or not you're interested, I want to make sure I don't give your seat away. I'll give others away first. Okay. Secondly, our local library here at Turner Library is turning 5 years old, and they have a celebration scheduled for this weekend. It's their 5th year. The celebration is from 1 to 4 p.m. Angela will be there with a table for our district participating, and I would encourage board members to stop by if you're available to do that. It'd be a good time to meet and greet, so I wanted to make sure you had that on your calendar. That too will be included in my message tomorrow. CSBA conference is right around the corner, December 13th through the 16th. This year it's in San Francisco, closer to home. We would like to get some reservations squared away because hotels probably are a bigger issue than the conference itself, so the sooner you can commit, appreciate that word. I included that in my weekly update last week. I'll do another reminder tomorrow, but we should button that down as soon as possible. Monthly parent meetings. Our special ed department is working with our community outreach liaison, Katie Niemer. Katie was in the room earlier. She's working with Mary DiMartino, and they've set up monthly parent meetings. It's a dinner, actually, at YOLO. We had over 150 participants last month when they opened the doors and they did a number of workshops and trying to improve communication and such. But there's another one scheduled I wanted to mention to the board, Wednesday, October 15th, a week from yesterday, I believe that is. Goes from 5:30 to 7. If you're available, stop by for dinner. I think it's, what was it, pumpkin chili maybe, in the theme of Halloween. And something else that might be as good or better. But that's 5:30 until 7 next Wednesday. Finally, just got this word from Bridgeway Island. They are doing their Fall Harvest Festival tomorrow, 4:30 to 6:30. They have vendors, they have games, they have food. It's going to be fun. A number of our schools do a fall harvest, as you know. We didn't receive information from other schools, but as soon as I get that, I'll get that out to you as well. So a lot of opportunities to get out there and have a good time. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Board comments, committees, update?
I have one. The Yolo County School Boards Association meeting will be holding their Media is Fun training. No, I can't remember what it's called, but the media training for board members next Monday on the 20th in Woodland, starting at 5:30. And all of our board members are encouraged to go. And I'd also like to announce the Yolo County Children's Alliance is starting a Youth Promotoras program at River City High School. We received 7 applications, but we have room for more students, and we're trying to work out stipends and payment for students, so it could be a really cool opportunity for kids interested in the healthcare field. So please see Stan Moisich for more information. I think he has some job descriptions, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Leland? No? Ms. Kirby-Gonzalez?
Okay, we had an Up for West Sac meeting, our preschool meeting, and they are going to need a community commissioner, and that will be put out soon. It'll be an appointment, so there will be applications, and what they are looking for is somebody who maybe has some connections with the business community who can help do some fundraising. So look for that if you want to be involved in our Up for West Sac, which is our universal preschool. It is a really great program, and we will be looking for a commissioner to be, folks to fill out applications to be appointed soon. Also, I went to the DTAC meeting, which was the district technology meeting, and the energy in the room was buzzing. Everybody was excited to be there, and there was a lot of excitement around professional development. Teachers there have been giving up their time to go on the weekends to be doing some good PD, as well as there were many offerings I saw after school and at other times too. And the message that I walked away with was urgency. The teachers felt there was an urgency to get devices in their hands, in the hands of kids, because they are ready, they are excited to start using some of the Google apps in the cloud. They've had the PD, they're ready for it, and so the sooner we can help get those devices purchased and in their hands, I think the better for the kids here in this district. And lastly, there is a group we talked about, there's many fall festivals going on. There also is a Bridgeway Lake Community Park Fall Fun Fest on October 26th from 4 to 7. And it's so nice to have our high school as a resource because they've reached out for volunteers. I know our kids do 8 hours of community service, and they've been in talks to do that. It's a great opportunity for our high schoolers to volunteer if they would like to. Thanks.
Thank you. I have nothing as well. Public hearing for sufficiency of instructional materials, the Williams Act. I'll open up that public hearing. I have no blue slips or comments on the matter, so I'll close the public hearing. Information discussion items. Number 1, Farm to Fork presentation by River City High School volunteers.
While they're coming up, Mr. Mankey, members of the board, we do in fact have 4 information discussion items, each directly linked and aligned to our strategic priorities. First up, Jennifer McAllister and her group coming forward to talk about Farm to Fork at River City.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm really excited to be here. I've been a teacher in the district for 18 years teaching science. This summer I had the opportunity to do an externship with Atlas Disposal and found out that they had a refuel program. And so I looked into that, and they basically collect food waste and they convert it into clean natural gas. I said, you know what? We already have 2 solar arrays at our school. Let's do this too. And so we redesignated our community service learning, and I have 26 students that are doing their service learning with me in some sort of format of farm to fork or farm to fork to refuel. And so I have 2 ladies here who would like to speak to you about the Farm to Fork Festival and about the refuel program. So here is Miss Annabelle.
Hello, I'm Annabelle Padilla. I'm a volunteer from the Farm to Fork Festival. Farm to Fork to refill. Okay. Farm to Fork is a program where farmers come together and educate the local people about where their food comes from. Having the festival was a great idea because there are a lot of people that most likely thinks about where their food came from. Surprisingly, there wasn't trash cans, so people had to choose to recycle or compost their food waste. Most people didn't know you can make clean natural gas from food waste to power vehicles. The refill program does this, and we have started this at River City High School. Natural gas created from food waste is relatively safe, produces less pollution, reduces emissions of harmful gases like carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, but also more efficient and cost-effective. Farm to Fork Festival was entertaining but also educational to the whole family. It is great to get our food locally because it's so much fresher and nutritious.
And I'd like to introduce Miss Janelle.
Hello, my name is Janelle Mredden, and I'm a junior at River City High School. This year we have started the Refill program, which will economically and environmentally help our school. I first heard about the program in my AP Environmental Science class, which is taught by Ms. McAllister. She educated us about the huge positive impact the program will have on our Earth. It is a very simple program, and in only the few days that we have started, we have had major success. We have put out several yellow trash bins around the school designated for food waste, which will later be turned into environmentally friendly gas that can be used to power cars. Many of the students know and have figured out where to put their trash, but for the students who do not know what the yellow trash bins are for, we have made videos to educate them and the whole school about the refill program. At the second annual Farm to Fork Festival, which occurred about 2 weeks ago, myself and many other volunteers from our school had the opportunity to see the program's impact as a whole and work alongside many other volunteers who have similar programs as ours. This small yet fast-growing program will be the first of many to try to alleviate the negative impacts that we as humans have done to our Earth, such as mass extinction of more than half the world's species, global warming, ocean acidification, which will negatively affect the ocean species and pollute the air that we breathe and depend on. Together, we have been able to use solar and natural gas energy, which will help save our environment.
And I just want to thank you guys so much for listening and being so supportive of the refuel program. And I want to let you know that in the springtime, I have a Farm to Fork class, the first ever. And so I think I have like 30 students in that, and I'm really excited about that. And then we've got the refuel program, and we're doing it. We're making some really good things happen. We're being sustainable and using renewable sources for our energy. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the board? Diegas?
That's amazing. And, we work on Farm to Fork as a county level in my day job. And so thank you for being such a great example and teaching kids this wonderful environment. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's a wonderful, a wonderful class, but I would never have connected the refuel with the Farm to Fork. So I think that's amazing. I'd like to come out and see what you're doing. And then I also wanted to ask if maybe you're partnering with some of the green chemistry companies that we have right here in West Sac that are taking stock and turning it into fuel and different things. So that would be a real interesting opportunity. Companies like Micromidas that are located right here in West Sac might be an interesting partnership that talks about at least the refuel portion. I can give you that information. I'll send it to you. Okay.
Just thank you. That was very exciting, and I can't wait to get out and see it in action. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing with us. That brings us to number 2, the Synergistic Annual Report 2014. Superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. McAllister, and students. Well done. Appreciate your presentation. But speaking of sustainable energy initiatives, this again is a strategic priority of our board, and we have with us Mr. Anthony Williams, our Synergistic Energy Specialist, to present tonight the annual report, and his team he'll introduce as they come up, I presume. Anthony.
Thank you. Good evening, President and board members, Superintendent. First off, we put together a slide presentation for you. I'm Anthony Williams. I'm your Washington Unified Energy Specialist. The gentlemen with me from Synergistics are Mark Gooney and Kevin Belinsky. They're my data lead and my implementation lead. I'm here tonight to provide you with an update on our energy program. The report I'm about to share with you is for the first 10 months, starting in November 2013 through August of 2014, which is the last month we've received our energy bills, minus a 4-month quick start period, which comes in technically before you have an energy specialist hired. So we are in the 6th month of our performance year right now, so halfway there. The primary goals of our energy program are to maintain a comfortable learning environment in our classrooms, to eliminate waste through behavior change, and to save dollars through energy, to create a climate of conservation, ensuring a sustainable savings. Some of our key accomplishments to date, we've done a lot of things to the district. Some that I'm most especially proud of are, first off, that this board has, through the Washington Unified Management Team, adopted a set of district-wide guidelines. When you're trying to affect change like this, it's a lot easier when the roadmap for that change comes from the top. And I think when I go in and I talk about things we want to do, they see that it's important to this board, meaning the whole community, and it definitely helps with people understanding that this is what we want to do as a district. The second accomplishment, we've hired an energy specialist myself, and I've tried to be very outspoken about our program and very visible inside our classrooms and our buildings so that people see that this is a sustainable project that we want, and we want it to be something that they do on an everyday basis. Also, the district has partnered or had been accepted as a partner with EPA Energy Star program, and in part because we have committed to reducing our usage by 10%. Measurements and verifications, we use a software called Energy Cap to track our savings progress, and CAP stands for Cost Avoidance Program. And that's kind of the meat and bones of our program here. Energy Cap's primary purpose is to calculate the value of energy we didn't use as a result of our conservation efforts. I have entered over 3,000 past and current energy bills into Energy Cap to give us a deep and detailed energy history. Energy Cap calculates our savings by taking energy use prior to the start of our program and adjusting it to today's conditions. It does so by comparing changes in weather, changes in building square footage, mechanical equipment if there were any, and different days in monthly billing cycles. Finally, Energy Cap multiplies that expected use by today's energy rates, because energy is always going up, to determine the amount that we would have paid if we didn't have this new energy program. That expected cost is then compared to today's actual cost through all the bills that I've entered, and gives us our savings or our avoided cost. And I'll show you kind of how that looks in the graph a little later. Annual utility. This graph shows the distribution of our utility. To date, the focus has been primarily on our 2 largest, electricity and water and sewer. Gas, we haven't used as much gas right now because we've been in such a hot summer that we haven't had to use gas other than through our food service department. And they've been doing a good job of doing what they can to reduce their gas too. Next is electrical savings. Since the beginning of our program, we've avoided 419,250 kilowatts of energy. That translates to an avoided cost of about $106,594. The graph that I was telling you about shows how we calculate our savings. So Energy Cap takes the usage and the costs shown in the gray bars in the graph and is adjusted to today's expected use or cost, and that's shown in the green bar. So you can see sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. It's based on the expectations every year because things change. And then it finally compares it to today's actual usage and cost, which is the green bars. The difference between the red expected and the green actual are avoided costs, and that's what we're saving. Go to next. This is a similar analysis with natural gas, and we have avoided costs of $4,871 in natural gas, mainly because we haven't had to use gas. But this graph shows that we haven't had to, and it shows how Energy Cap calculates that. You'll see how in our first year, gas was really high because it was a lot colder and we were using heat. And now that we're in a hotter winter and fall this past year, we're not expected to use as much. So that red is lower, but we've still used less than we were expected to. So we're still conserving energy, and a lot of that's through our food department. And then this is our water and sewer savings. And water has avoided costs of $103,637. And we're in a drought, so we're not using water mainly because we're not supposed to, and it's also a good energy conservation practice. So we got a grand total of energy savings to date of $215,102, or 14%. That's through the 10-month period of October 13 to August 14. Our performance year, which starts in March when energy specialist was hired, is a 6-month period, and we have saved slightly over $174,000, and right now we're tracking at 103% of our goal. And I think our goal is $334,000 a year. So as a district, we're doing very good, and we're very happy about that. Our efforts are positive on the money side, but we also have a positive effect on our environment. And I live in West Sacramento, and I've lived here all my life, so that's really important to me. And to date, by the fact that we've avoided using 419,000 kilowatts of electricity and over 47,000 therms of natural gas, that translates into reducing our carbon footprint by 96,000 or 96 metric tons of CO2, which is like removing 20 cars from the highway on a regular basis, or planting or growing over 24,000 trees in 10 years. So in 6 months, we've made a major impact environmentally in West Sacramento, and I think that is as important as much money as we're saving is what we're doing for the environment. And I think that's where our behavior change really comes into effect, when people realize that by just turning off your lights, turn off your computer, things that we're doing, we're actually making an impact on our environment. Next. Our future plans. I'm excited about the accomplishments to date. There's more opportunities for savings. In addition to the continuing work we've already started, we have other energy saving projects in process. We're getting ready for a shutdown in Thanksgiving. Then we'll have a winter shutdown for Christmas. And those shutdowns have been really good. I mean, we're closing these schools, so there's no one there, and we're not wasting energy. And I think that's really good, because we don't want to do anything to make it uncomfortable doing school. We want to close when we're not there, and that's the whole point of our project here. Also, we're in continual collaboration with District Prop 39, Strategic Energy Plan. A lot of our data is helping them. And our main goal is to get the entire district thinking about ways to conserve. And so everyone is doing their part, and that's what we're really happy about. Last one. In closing, I kind of want to read this one a little bit closer, because I want to make sure I get everybody that has been helping this whole program. First, I want to thank the board for your foresight in adopting this energy conservation program. Then I want to thank our superintendent and Scott Landsberger for their continued support, the principals and staff for coordinating shutdown efforts in their schools, the custodians for assisting me with problem areas and reporting them back to me so then we can get them reported to some of our maintenance department and get those things fixed right away. All site staff for their support in energy conservation, especially some of the teachers that I've talked with that want to work with me and want to get the kids involved with helping conserve energy. Don Manning and Terry Souza and the entire maintenance department for their ongoing efforts. You know, I've talked to a lot of people in this business, and if you don't have the support of your maintenance department, you can't get anything done. And these guys have been very supportive to the program, and I really appreciate that. Carrie Pena and her staff at the kitchens for getting our kitchen shut down. And you see, like, we're saving gas in a time where we're not even using gas, and we're still saving it because they're doing their due diligence and shutting things down, too. Shannon Twiley and Kylie Lane and Doris Earl and the entire business office staff are getting me copies of bills right away. I mean, bills come out the next day. They're having a copy on my desk so I can get those bills implemented into Energy Cap, and we can see and attack any problem areas right away. And then Tom and the technology department for their help, too. And that concludes my report. If you have any questions, of course, you can find me. I'm at the district office in room 64. And again, I appreciate the board's continued support for our energy program. Thank you.
Thank you. No any comment from the board?
I just want to thank you for the presentation. I mean, saving $215,000 is nothing to shake a stick at. But I also want to thank you for being so gracious and acknowledging and thanking folks that have been involved, because this really is a team effort. And so you putting that out there, I just really appreciated the thoughtfulness in listing all the partners, because it is a partnership project. I just wanted to have you reiterate this 20 cars off of the highway and the 2,400 trees for 10 years. Is that just for West Sac?
That's just through our efforts here in West Sac.
Really?
Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
Yes, and that's, you know, just 6 months so far.
Okay.
And when you reduce your energy and your electricity, those things add up a lot. And that's what I don't think people understand, how the little things start to add up. And we're a big district. We're probably the biggest entity in West Sacramento. So when we get everybody involved in this process, we're going to be doing a lot of good environmentally to the city.
I really like that visual, and I really think it's important to put that, you know, information out to the community. And, you know, maybe it could even be an agenda item at our 2x2 where we meet with the city. I don't know how updated they are with this project, but really impressive results. So thank you.
We would be definitely happy to share, because, like I said, when everybody's excited about it and understands what their impact will do, then I think we get more people on board.
I actually think that's a great idea, Mary. And, you know, maybe a press release on that. You know, the city has a tree program, and I think she's planted over 2,000 trees over a 10-year period, something like that. So they're doing their efforts, too. So it'd be nice to share that information.
I can definitely put something together for you and give it to Mr. Gillian.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, on the website would be wonderful. And coupled with the, I think too, the solar, how much we're saving, because I believe we were using about 75%. Our solar panels were producing about 75% of what we use.
At the school site, yeah.
It would be really wonderful, yeah, to put all that.
And you can see, I think we have websites that you can go and look at what our solars are doing. And I think that should be out there so people understand. And understand that just because we have solar doesn't mean we don't need to still be responsible and turn off the lights and stuff too.
Yes, I agree. So my only question, and so of course we want the impact on the environment is the first and most important. And then looking at the cost savings, fabulous. But I'm also wondering how much, if we know how much during that period that synergistic, that we paid to synergistic, just so in our mind we can think about what cash balance that kind of is to help us.
Well, do you have it broken down?
Yeah, so far to date it's cost, it's combination of synergistic's fee and the software is just over $108,000.
Our savings is still over $100,000 then, if we took that out.
Yeah, and you know, we've set up, the way it's set up, where if we hit target, I think we're 20%, 40% over?
For the objective?
Yeah, for the
At least
objective.
20%.
At least
yes,
20, yeah.
right.
And we're already tracking at 103% of our targets. So, you know, and I understand, you know, we definitely don't want to be spending district's money. So I know what we're doing is actually, in the end, going to not cost the district anything based on how much we're saving. And that's what's important to me, because we're still putting money back. Hopefully that gets back into schools and can have more teacher jobs and more programs and stuff. Because I grew up, went to high school in this district, and, you know, so when I see things come back, and I hope that my efforts are a part of some of that stuff coming back, it feels really proud.
Yeah, that's a big number. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks for the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that takes us to number 3, suspension comparison statistics.
Mr. Jerry Smith will be speaking to providing healthy and safe, secure environments for strategic priority address this evening, and also Lynette will be joining him for the next item.
Thank you, President Mankey, board members. Once again, another informational item. We're going to try to keep them pretty quick for you, but more good news. If you've seen the sheets already that are up, I'm actually going to go to the slide that's actually in the back side of your paper first. These are last year's numbers of suspensions by different grounds, meaning the different acts that can be suspendable on 48900 A through O. A total of 498 suspensions last year. If you look on the other side, on the other sheet, and compare that to what you've been looking at the last 4 years, an extraordinary downturn in suspensions within the district. And it's not due to an idea that, well, we're just not going to suspend people. It's due to the idea, I believe, that, first of all, it's a national, statewide, county, and district-wide movement to lower the number of suspensions. We all know that when kids are at home and not at school, they're not learning. It's simple as that. And that the idea of suspensions, kind of cliche, is becoming real old school. And we're trying to go in a lot of different directions. You know, and you guys have supported a great deal of the interventions that we've put into the district as far as trying to go into different directions besides suspension. In the last 2 years, there's been over a 50% drop in suspensions throughout this district. That's a great savings of the amount of kids that are on campus, so higher ADA. But on top of it, more kids are learning. You look at 498 suspensions for a district of students of 7,400 kids. Those are extraordinary numbers. They really are. And that's, once again, an effort starting with you guys with the financial support you've given to the programs, the best programs at each one of our campuses. I think a real significant change last year, a real interesting one that I saw, and I talked to Westmore Oaks about this. Westmore Oaks in the last couple of years has had over 100 to 150 suspensions. Last year they went down to 39. And their best team has made an extraordinary effort to work together to provide other interventions outside of suspension, and they really feel that the PlayWorks program that we've supported has made a huge difference on their campus, not only during the time when the students are out on the playground, but when they come back into the classroom with a different attitude, those negative things aren't happening. So once again, really, really good news. The idea of dropping 2 years ago 299 suspensions and then this year following it up with another 240 is pretty extraordinary. I can't sit here and guarantee we're going to hit another 240 because there's going to come an end point at a certain point. But if we can stay pretty steady at this rate and keep dropping a little bit each year, I think we're doing some really, really good things. And I think a great deal of it's due to the interventions.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Comments from the
Any
board?
questions?
Oh, great news. I think programs like this, we still have to give kudos to staff and our administration for having the foresight to bring effective programs like BEST to us. And so I just want to thank staff and administration for seeing these results. And then teachers and kids, we're in it together.
Thanks. Dieguez?
And I just want to thank you for acknowledging PlayWorks. That's a great program, and the Children's Alliance actually did a pilot project with Riverbank, and so it's a great program. I know that personally, and it's good to see that it's doing so well. Thanks for your hard work.
Ms. Kirby-Gonzalez?
I too am glad you mentioned PlayWorks because I was a little skeptical of PlayWorks at first, and that was a lot of money to spend, and I thought, is this the most effective way to do this? And so it's nice to hear that it's going so well.
I really think it's making a difference.
Good, good. And then my question would be about suspensions. Is this in-school and out-of-school suspensions?
These are out-of-school suspensions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so in-school suspensions then are still a practice that could happen when appropriate?
Yeah, exactly. At certain campuses, it's actually another form of intervention. A lot of times, they'll put them just in a different classroom for the day, working with teachers and sharing the load on kids that are having a little bit of trouble in one class. West Morris does that very well, as a matter of fact. I watched some of that actually happen today. So those are informal forms of in-school suspension, but once again, they don't come into our statistics because they're not the formalized out-of-school suspensions.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think this is great. I know it's been a concern of people in the community for a long time, and the safety of schools and all that kind of stuff. So to see the drop is very good, and it's the continued support by staff and from and different things to make more and more programs come in. And it's not so much bringing the programs. We can implement programs all day long, but if the people don't really buy in and make those programs come to fruition and really happen, then it doesn't really matter.
You're right.
So thank you to you and staff and everybody involved in making that happen. I know it takes a team effort from all the principals and administrators and even teachers that have to deal with the the escalation of being in trouble and different things. So I know it's a really team effort. So thank you. I do have one public comment, Mr. Stoffer, if you want to speak.
Hello. Mine's mostly in the form of questions about the reduction in suspensions. I know one of the things that's topical right now is suspensions for willful defiance. And I noticed in the last year's statistics that 21% of the suspensions were from that category. And I'm wondering, from the peak of 2 years ago when it was over 1,000, how many of those were for willful defiance? And I'm wondering if that's where a major part of our drop in suspensions is coming from, which is a good thing, actually. Right. And though I do also notice from last year that 32% of our suspensions were for violent acts. And obviously that's concerning, and those are probably things that you can't just use alternative means to deal with. And that's probably things where PlayWorks and some of the other new tools are really helping out. I know this is probably something that won't tell us anything we don't know, but I'm wondering if we could go back and look at suspensions and compare suspensions to grade point averages, and maybe some of the backgrounds of the kids, ethnic background, free and reduced lunch, and other the things. I mean, we'll probably find that the usual suspects are the usual suspects, but I'm wondering if that insight might help us in developing even more tools to keep suspensions down. Just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your presentation tonight. It's a wealth of information, so thank you.
Thank you. You want me to go ahead and continue with number 4?
Real quickly, I'd just like to thank you, Jerry, for the information. And I think Don, again, presents wonderful questions when we're talking about willful defiance. For a long time, because of the legislative interest right now in that, it's been recognized as kind of a default. It's like if we don't have something more tangible, quite often we'll call it willful defiance. And I think through the BEST program you've heard featured and highlighted this evening, and now with restorative justice, we're really looking at means to intervene with kids before problems escalate to that level. So I think what Don's pointing out, the correlation to other data, indicators would be a great research study, maybe for your doctoral study, Don. I'd encourage you. We'll provide the data. No, seriously, I think that's a wonderful way to look at it, because we know that it's all interrelated, and the more effective we are in our behavior management and teaching proper behaviors, the better results we see academically. So that's what that's all about. I wanted to give that pitch for the best effort in our preventative measures, because I think that's really what's paying the dividends. Now I'll turn it back over to Jerry.
Great segue.
Thanks.
Help me out there with number 4. Real quick report on our anti-bullying program. You put restoration funds the last 2 years towards that. We are continuing on at the high school with the Each One Alliance through Kevin Bracey through Sacramento. We're starting to get that going a little bit heavier fashion now that we've got the school year going. Kevin will be on campus a little bit more, working with the club that they've formed. At the elementary level, we have the Oveus program. Different levels of how they're handling the program at different sites. It's fun to watch. Elkhorn did an extraordinary beginning of the year program with a big rally out in front, tying in the Oveus program. We're continuing to support the Oveus folks with the curriculum material that's there. As you know, it's a curriculum-based program. Really tough right now, especially with the Common Core implementation and also throwing that into the fold. So it's like there's so much for the teachers to do. But I think the program's working really really well. And the great thing about our tie-in with Kevin at the high school is that he is just about in completion of his Reach One Alliance program for elementary schools and the middle school age students. Very soon, I think we're going to be able to have our Olveus at K-8, but start infusing some of Kevin's program, which forms clubs, et cetera, at that level as well, to the point where he's actually developing a comic book for the kindergartner through third graders about anti-bullying and a superhero that goes along with it. So we're really excited to bring that into it. And that way the kids, as they transition through our elementary school program and then they get to the high school, the idea of being in Reach One, some of them may have been in Reach One since kindergarten all the way to 12th grade by the time we're done with this. So it's pretty exciting. And that brings me to the next thing with Lynette. Some really exciting stuff that they're doing countywide. I'll follow up at the end about what's happening with the county, but something that Lynette has a great background in and we're on our way to start is restorative practices.
As we get ready here, I'm going to ask you for about 30 seconds of speed reading. You have a packet that looks like this, and the very last page looks like this. And if we were in a workshop, we'd take quite a bit of time. But if you would take really 30 seconds to look at the 24 terms and highlight maybe 4, maybe 5 of the type of things you'd like to see more of in schools or make sure those characteristics are in our classrooms. Thank you. Now, we're moving towards the restorative, and in school systems, it's called restorative practices, and in the court system, it's called restorative justice. So we'll be talking about restorative practices, which are not a set of tricks that you give to teachers, but it's a very profound philosophy, a way of viewing the world. It's the windshield you look through in your classroom, not just the practices you do. And what it's based on is establishing healthy, purposeful, sustainable relationships that are conducive to learning, conducive to keeping people engaged in what they're doing, and everyone moving forward together, and that's really what we want. So let's take a look at a bit of contrast between some types of approaches called more traditional and what the restorative includes. You'll see the traditional type is the discussions are about rule breaking. What rule did you break? What are you guilty of having done? It's more adversarial between the adults and the students when it takes place in school. You punish in order to deter. It's esteemed as being impersonal. People say, oh, it doesn't matter why you did this. You did it. It's the same for everybody. We don't ask why. And the people who are harmed are usually completely ignored. It's all about the perpetrator, if you will. The focus is on them, and the accountability is, were they punished? Restorative has a different perspective. You speak of the wrongdoing or harm, and the person who caused the wrongdoing or harm takes full accountability for it. It's about problem solving. It's done through dialogue and structured negotiation, if you will, about finding a solution together. It's about restitution, reparation, restoration. It's very interpersonal. The why and how this came to be is extremely important in finding the solutions. It empowers everyone, especially the victims of any wrongdoing. And the accountability is, have you put things right? This is a social discipline window, and it helps to categorize approaches to discipline in social environments. And if we move counterclockwise, we'll start with looking at the y-axis where control is shown, very high control versus very low control at the bottom. And then we're considering the x-axis, which is the type or availability of support. And with high control and low support, we have the punitive sector. And that can be, you often hear sentences that are along the lines of, if you don't comply, this will be done to you. So you hear the word to quite a bit. If we drop down then and look at low control and low support, we get the neglectful. I'm not going to intervene, I'm not going to help, they'll have to learn by themselves. If you look at high support but no real control, and by control we mean setting limits that are purposeful and appropriate to the environment, we have the permissive. Well, instead of you trying to work this out, let me do it for you. And then with the restorative, we have more with. If we team up, we can both get to the goals we need to realize. These are the characteristics associated with each quadrant, and I invite you to take a moment to look at what the words were that you highlighted that you would like to see in classrooms and determine which quadrant they belong in. I won't ask you which quadrant, but I'll say I've been making this presentation for over 8 years, and I have never, in fact, found people who are interested in education who are in any quadrant except with, which is restorative. Now, because conversation and purposeful ways of talking together is so key to restorative practices, answering this question is rather important. Because if the dialogue is not simple and straightforward, it can wander off track. And what restorative is not is the easy way out. It is the hardest road I know of for someone who has gotten something wrong, to take it all the way to the point of having restored what they got wrong. So if you take a second and think about this, could you, in one sentence, describe an effective behavior policy for our schools? Well, I kind of recommend this one. All behavior must support learning. I've engaged in many dialogues and conversations with kids who've gotten something wrong, and it started with, did your behavior support learning? No. Where did it go wrong? What were other choices? How do we make this right? It takes the entire focus off of, why did you break this rule? How are we going to punish you? And so on. Which, if you understand brain research, that approach actually keeps the brain from learning for quite a long time. The approach I'm describing actually allows the brain to get back into learning mode in the shortest amount of time possible. So it's a pretty important concept for schools. And at this point, just summarizing, it restores the learning environment and the healthy relationships for everyone, including the teachers and the students. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
Oh, I love it. So you said that you've been doing many of these presentations. So my question is, as I think about just one school that I heard about recently, Bridgeway Island, they had said no more homework. They have been really looking at this carefully, and they have decided that they are not going to do homework in their first grade classes. And they want to give some time to families. And with that, I thought, well, what a great opportunity to give some parenting classes too, because and give parents some strategies. And I'm assuming maybe that that's where you've done some of these presentations. And if not, is there a way to get this out to families? Because as we look at giving them some more time at home, possibly, and less doing homework, we want to make sure that they have some skills too, because these are great at home and at school.
It's a very good idea. I have worked one-to-one with parents who have been struggling on a situational basis, and this very much does help them. Most of my presentations have been schools. Next week, I'll be presenting this actually to the YOLO Conflict Resolution Center in Woodland, who wants to support schools who are doing this in YOLO County.
Okay, Good. Well, hopefully we can have a parent night too eventually, maybe with this.
Lots
This
of
is great.
parent nights.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parenting classes going on in West Sacramento. Children's Alliance has some, Communicare has some, so lots of good curriculums. We should get together.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
I'd also like to add some information for you. So, you know, we are taking a team of 10 from our school district on November 4th and 5th to the training that's being sponsored ultimately by Judge Basha and the juvenile court system. That's where it started. There's going to be members of probation there, DA's office, public defender's office, each one of the school districts within the county, and we're taking a team of 10 over there. All the school districts are starting with their secondary groups to start off with. So we have members from River City High School, Yolo High School, and then members of some of my team with the outreach specialists. And we're really excited about taking the next step. The thing that everyone needs to understand, to truly infuse restorative practices in your school system, you're looking to really get it going. You're in a 4 to 5 year mode to really get people to buy into this, because it takes a lot of dedication from not only the leaders in the program, but each one of the teachers, and then getting the kids to buy in as well. But it's exciting, so we're on our way.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with the board. And so some of these behaviors, again, yes, as educators and people that are on a board would automatically be drawn to the restorative practice, but something that we can keep in mind as we are sitting up here working with the district. So good message.
Thank you. This brings us to action item. Number 1, adopt Board Resolution 1415-04, opening a special reserve fund for capital outlay projects. Is there any discussion or questions from the board? If not, can I get a motion to?
So moved.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
It's a
Aye.
resolution. Is it?
Excuse me, Miss, I'm sorry to interrupt. Roll call, please.
Yeah.
In resolution.
Ms. Leland?
Aye.
Ms. Kirby Gonzalez?
Aye.
Ms. Villegas?
Aye.
And I do vote aye. 4 ayes and no noes with 1 absent. Number 2, it's also a resolution. Adopt Resolution 1415 regarding sufficiency of instructional materials, Williams Act. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second that as well. Ms. Leland?
Aye.
Ms. Kirby Gonzalez?
Aye.
Ms. Villegas?
Aye.
I too vote aye, so that's 4 ayes and no noes with 1 absent. That brings us to priority projects of the general obligation bond board discussion. Superintendent Gillen.
Yes, we have a PowerPoint for you this evening that's very brief because you've seen most of it up until this point, but I just want to hit a few highlights. We have conducted a number of assessment or information gathering activities and exercises to pool our community, to talk with our community input team, also our staffs at our school sites, and we've compiled lists of priorities for the in the event that a bond measure is successful in November. Dry rot and mold and keeping kids safe, warm, and dry has been kind of a common theme throughout our work, and that, again, through a number of different sources and different lists that we've generated, continues to rise to the top, if you will. This second slide, or excuse me, I'll go to this quickly. This talks about the priorities from the various groups. I mentioned the public opinion survey and also the community input team. We've seen this before, so I'm not going to go line by line, but I guess the important point to me is that there's so much commonality from the various groups that we've worked with to identify these priorities. I think we have sound validity in terms of the list we've compiled. This next piece talks about priority 1, 2, and 3 that was developed by surveying our staff at our school sites, and I think this was presented to the board last time that you met. The check marks highlight those areas that were common themes, again, from site to site. This particular list presented or resulted in a list that was itemized, if you will, based on cost. We're anticipating a $47 million bond measure if successful in November, and we wanted to make sure that we were going to be living within our means. So we did a cost analysis based on the various items that rose to the top in terms of priority. So that's reflected here. The only change in this sheet, I think, was based on the board's conversation last time, 2 weeks ago, where we talked about heating, ventilation, and air conditioning upgrades for the 2 schools that now are on that list. The $47 million, as Scott Landsberger typically does, I think is somewhat inflated. We're hopeful that we're estimating high because we want to be able to deliver on what we're looking at. But when you look to Project List B, we would know maybe 2 years out whether or not we can delve deeper into that. So, you know, the implementation of the A list, if you will, would occur within the first few years. Finally, there was some question or comment or a request for further information or detail regarding those various items. So you have that here. This is a little difficult to read on the screen, but I'll just point, if you look at it in terms of quadrants, I think as Lynette kind of got us set for with that, the matrix that she shared. Up on the top left is basically the roofing projects for the next 5 years. And you can see virtually every site is listed and itemized. This information came directly out of the Capital Improvement Program report. So we pulled those numbers, and those numbers also were based on projections of what actual costs would be when we got around to the work. So we feel pretty comfortable about those costs. So top left is the roofing projects. Down below, that is basically the River City High School page, if you will, specific to the CIP. And there's an item second from the bottom which talks about future classes, a classroom building for that site. And that, again, was one of the priorities. They're stuffed to the gills, if you will, right now in science particularly, and there is a need for that classroom as we anticipate increased enrollment. So that would be a priority. Okay, up to the top right is the Bright Site project. Very extensive list, but this is our career tech educational emphasis for that particular program, and you can see the cost identified there. Down below is simply an itemized accounting of what would be included in that list B, if you will. So if you take those items for Elkhorn Village, Southport, Stonegate, the early college prep charter school, YOLO, and Alice Norman, and add the $500,000 for the Riverbank parking lot that we moved from A to B, you're right at that total amount for the $8,300,000 for the second list. I would suggest, based on your action this evening, that you really kind of focus on that A list, if you will, and I would anticipate that the board would have continuing discussions later about what they want to do with any money that's left over, because priorities could change. So I really think if you focus, if you feel committed and willing to obligate to that A list, that's really what we're looking for this evening. Okay, any questions?
Is there any discussion or questions from the board? No?
I'm good with the A list the way it is.
Okay. Yep. Kirby Gonzalez.
I appreciate you having the breakdown with roofs for all of the schools. That's a nice addition. And then I also think it would be important to remind folks about the Career Pathways Grant as we look at our CDE conversion. It's kind of a nice conversation to have together so that people are very aware that we also have this grant money that could go a long way to helping this too. Thank you.
Okay, so it's under my understanding that we're just going to focus on A and approve A, and then B's there, and you can look at it historical record if it comes down to that later on, and board can change up as need be, but I think the A is the primary.
So you want to weave that into the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve list A, priority projects, and list B can be modified at a later date when money comes available, but approving list A.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
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 It's 4 ayes and no noes, and 1 absent. That brings us to consent items. Can I get a motion to approve consent items?
So moved.
I'll make,
Hold on. I have 2 motions on the floor, so I'll settle down and we'll regroup.
I forgot. Mary,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent item agenda with a note that item 1, we accept as revised.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those, sorry.
In favor.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 ayes and no noes and 1 absent. I'm gonna keep saying opposed. Okay, that brings us to future board agenda items. Is there any? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have a couple.
Okay.
So one would be the gentleman that spoke tonight, Ed, about the Bright Park plan, and it doesn't necessarily need to be on an agenda, but just to have an update of if there's been any new information that's come through on the Bright plan. That would be helpful to know. And then I had a parent approach me, a parent of multiples, who brought to my attention that there are many multiples who are starting to move up in our district, and that this parent's perception is that there is a policy in place at some schools. So I think it would be nice to revisit that as a board and see they were specific to Bridgeway Island. But if there's a policy, and not necessarily that we need one, but that we could just look at it and maybe if there's a case-by-case situation. I did see that Minnesota Senate had adopted some policy that looked pretty flexible. That might be something to look at on multiples.
I'm so sorry, Ms. Kirby-Gonzalez. I need
Yeah.
clarification. I wasn't hearing what you were suggesting we look into.
If we could look into a multiples, so if there's twins or multiples.
Oh, okay.
So
I was like, whoa, multiples?
In terms
Sorry.
of, in terms of enrollment, or is this?
I knew what I was talking
I know
about.
what you're talking about.
Multiples.
In
Okay.
terms, sorry, okay, let me back up. So if there are twins or multiples, if there's a policy that they could be in the, there's been a policy that they could not be in the same class according to some parents. And so looking into, sorry, now, I realize now that made no sense to you. So if we could look into that, if there's a policy, we might not necessarily need a policy, but maybe we can be flexible on that. And then Minnesota, the Senate in Minnesota had adopted some language that I was reading that looked like something that might be able to work, that was kind of open-ended.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you guys will handle multiples.
I know what you're doing.
The Bright,
All the moms.
the Bright Park thing has been addressed and looked at. If the rest of the board would like to see if there has been any updates, we can go there. It might be better that that Sarah may get up to speed on it. I know we talked about it at 2x2 quite a bit. I don't think there's anything gone from there, but I gave him the number for the guy, so he'll get answers on that. Right. If there's anything new or a grant proposal, yes.
I'll just jump in real quickly. There is, in fact, there's been some discussion, and I think, Mr. Menke, you even suggested perhaps when we talked about the bond measure, maybe we'd want to work with the city or talk to the city about how we could partner. And the Bright Park has been a common and regular point of agreement in terms of what we might want to do. In a recent meeting with the city manager and the Parks and Rec director, as we meet monthly, we talked again about what our plan is for the Bright side and making sure that we can also include whatever the city might have plans to do with that park and make sure we don't nudge them out, if you will. So we're continuing that discussion. That, in fact, was on the agenda for the 2x2 this past week that was postponed. So we do intend to bring that to the board, so we'll have an update for the entire board after 2x2.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 ayes and no noes. And we're good.